Welcome to Mobile Armor Radio, the podcast for all things Mecha. Jumpship incoming.
Welcome to episode 53 of Mobile Armor Radio, the show all about mechs and mecha and mechanics. My name's Rob.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Chopper.
And we're here to enlighten you on the wonderful world of mechs. It's November. It's getting to be cold out, so hopefully we have something to talk about.
It's almost Christmas time.
Well, it's ironic because it was like incredibly warm today. Like it got into 70 degree Fahrenheit.
Oh, it was close to 80 over here.
Yeah, it was really nice out.
I stayed in all day.
But you know what we say in the Midwest, when it gets this warm in the fall, it'll be super wintry in the Februarys.
Fun times. Well, enough of this banter. Let's move on to the actual episode.
Dropship landing.
And we moved on to the dropship. This is what we're working on. Any hobbying from either of you boys? Who wants to go first?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'll chime in. In that,
please have something.
Well, in I think the time since we last recorded, I had finished up all the terrain that I had been painting and printing and everything for the Michigan GT, which was a really fun time. And I'll talk about that more into the ComStar section. But that was a big chunk of my hobby time was put into getting that stuff all painted up and table ready. I had fun doing a one kind of a cleaner style for more space terrain where it's predominantly white, but then I have a line of color that goes through it in kind of a nice clean look. Didn't turn out the greatest up close, but it served its purpose. But then I also had a whole bunch of MDF terrain, and I do apologize if I already mentioned this last time. But for that, what I wound up doing, because it was a bit more of a cyberpunk kind of feel to it, is that I basically just went kind of a Zenithal style of spray painting it like a dark blue, and then hitting it with a teal, kind of from a high angle, and that it worked out great because it had we had little acrylic insets for these kind of shield looking barriers, and those are all kind of light green, and so it just had a really cool effect on the terrain. And I kind of had that all printed up or painted up for one of the Dead Zone tournaments that I ran. And so I had basically an all MDF board, one that was all 3D printed, and then we had a couple others that were more Mantic terrain.
Nice variety.
Yeah. Only downside was the scenarios I picked didn't allow for a great variety of layouts, but I'll get into that later. But it was fun to get all that stuff painted up. It's nice now that I have two solid to-go boxes of terrain that are nice and sturdy, and I don't have to worry about breaking. I can just haul it around in a big tub, and makes gaming and going out to stores and stuff a lot easier to do. But following all that work, did have a little bit of hobby burnout, where I'm I don't feel like painting anything. I don't feel like assembling anything. I just wanted to kind of decompress after that event. So, but like I said, I'll talk more about the event itself following up in the ComStar. But how about you, Pat? What things have you been working on?
No, not too much, actually. Since the last time we recorded, I've been away. So literally the weekend after we recorded the Michigan GT. So I got to see all your terrains. and see all the peeps.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came home for 5 days. And then I was off to Lake Geneva for another nerd getaway.
Oh, nice.
Was playing D&D and everything in the Gary Gygax house.
That's pretty neat.
And making a kind of an RPG mecha. It was a good weekend. Learned a lot of things, but no mechs there, so we won't talk about it too much.
A different kind of mecha.
And if you do want to learn more about that, you can always go to Dragon's Tome on Facebook or on YouTube, because he talks about it more there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of pictures. Sorry, I'm just choking.
Don't die.
There's a lot of pictures on the Dragon's Tome Facebook page if you'd like to see a lot of the cool stuff. And then we are now recording this time, and I'll be leaving again in another week. So I haven't done too much. I maybe put a splash of paint on a couple things for when I was down in the basement, just putzing around. But honestly, I had no concentrated effort on anything this time around. It's not for a lack of things to do. It's just I have not been home.
That's your excuse this time.
Well, it's the truth. Every other excuse is a lie. I just throw that out there so people think I'm busy.
Yeah, that's right. For me, I finally started my Wolf's Dragoons. I was doing that whole regiment, so I've started, and I bought a bunch of the Army Painter speed paints too, which I don't know if I'll use on those because they're not really conducive to that because they're kind of orange and black.
Did you buy a set, or did you just buy a couple speed paints?
No, I bought the mega set, so it's like all of them.
Oh, so you got all of them?
Pretty much. I think it is all of them. I think the mega set is all of them.
It's like the $90 one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to actually paint up some mechs now, because that'll help me get through them fast. So
yeah.
Theoretically.
I was gonna cut through some Armada and maybe even do my Batman figs in those speed paints.
Yeah. Yeah, I have my whole Armada fleet to do too. Yeah, so hopefully I'll start painting more mechs. It's my excuse. I already had some of the Citadel ones, so I can't really say that I didn't have paints, but maybe to use these fancy new paints, I'll have incentive. So I got to break out the airbrush to get everything primed and zenithed, and then speed paint it up. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure I'll post pictures on Facebook, and if I don't, hold me to it, because I'm terrible at not painting. I got to get back into the groove.
Because I need to get back into. I mean, not that I'm out of the groove. I want to get once all this personal vacation stuff gets out of the way.
Damn vacations, ruining everything.
Taking a break.
Then we only got one left. We just got to knock out the 10-year wedding anniversary.
Oh yeah! Congratulations.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll move on to the ComStar. And everybody wish Pat a happy anniversary.
Happy birthday to your marriage.
Thank you.
Message from ComStar.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Rick.
From Dead Zone the Podcast.
And you're listening to
Mobile Armor Radio.
In the quickest episode of Mobile Armor Radio ever, we're on to ComStar already. This is going to be a quick one, guys. I hope you don't mind.
I think it's all right. We've had some we had 5 years of gold.
You need one stinker?
There's one episode that needs to be like a bronze.
53. 53 is the bronze. The only bit of news I really have is that the Battletech Merc Kickstarter was supposed to happen in September, I think, but they moved off to March 2023. They just did their Leviathans Kickstarter, and then they did the Shadowrun card game Kickstarter. So I think they're kind of felt like it's kind of saturated right now with Kickstarters. So they're going to wait until March. That's good for everybody to save up some cash.
Plus, that's a lot of projects to be Kickstarter managing.
Yeah, I think that was the issue too. And I think there's a new rule with Kickstarter. You're not allowed to have more than one on the go at the same time. So I think
really?
Probably.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure somebody was saying something about that before. So
how did the Leviathan turn out?
I don't know. I never backed it.
Oh, I was just curious. I thought maybe you might have been following it.
No. I looked at the rules for it, and I was like, whoa, this is way too complicated. No, thank you. And did not back it.
Huh.
And I almost backed the Shadowrun card game, but I decided I'll just get it at Gen Con if I want it.
Yeah, I did too, because it was just it was like a legendary card game. Is that what it is, or
no?
It's a living card game, right?
Yeah, it's like the original. It is just a redo of the original CCG, but they're doing it as a living card game. They're not allowed to call it that. I think Fantasy Flight owns that term, so they're not allowed to call it a living card game. But it's the same idea, where it's no longer blind buys, so they're going to just put the whole set out, kind of, and then I don't know if they're doing expansions or if this is it or what. So. Is that
what is it called? Keyforge does?
Yes, I think Keyforge does. Keyforge, though, isn't it totally random? I think Keyforge does like random decks, like completely random.
Yeah, actually, you might be right on that one. I think I'm mixing things up.
Yeah, they did things.
I'm not into the card game scene very much.
I'm glad I held off then, because just that whole card game thing.
They're fun. It's I have a lot of the original Shadowrun card games, so. It's all new art and stuff for it, so. Like I say, it's a Gen Con purchase, I think, in the future, probably. But who knows, because there's so much Battletech stuff coming out. That Merc Kickstarter, they did have a lot of previews for it, and it's looking sweet. A lot of vehicles now, and a lot more mechs, and it's all based on mercenaries this time, so it's gonna be fun for that. So can't wait, but not until March. We'll talk about it then. So.
Well, speaking of the card game, I finally got my hands on Redline.
Oh, that's right.
And thank you guys, by the way, for getting that over to me.
Yeah, I almost forgot that I think something came up. I was like, oh damn, I should have sent Brian that, but I must have given it to Pat, so it's good.
No, it's great. I've been kind of peeking through the rules, just kind of reading up on it. Haven't tried to play it just yet, but I'm looking forward to trying it out. Everything I'm reading on it, and from what we've talked about before, I'm definitely intrigued. And
it's fast, it's simple, it's fun, it's easy to get into, especially if you played like Magic's Gathering before. You'll know how to play it. Like it's
many moons ago. The early 2000s was the last time I played Magic.
Yeah, me too.
So before Commander, I think
I got out of Magic before year 95.
Yeah, it was before 2000. I was for sure out of it.
So. My first starter deck was in 95, and I actually used that for quite a while. But no, I'm excited to try it out. And I did back that other Kickstarter that they had, so I'm excited to get that edition as well. I really like the universe that they've set up and how that's continued to evolve. So that should be a fun time.
Did you get a chance to try it out?
Not yet, but I'll see if it's something I can maybe play against myself first, just to kind of get the hang of it, and then
that's for sure. Yeah.
See if any of my local gamers might be interested in trying it out.
Force your wife to play it.
She does not like sci-fi.
No, that doesn't work then.
No, it's a hard sell to get her into any sci-fi stuff. Otherwise, I'd probably get her into Dreadball, but she's still just no.
That's a hard sell.
But no, so I've had that on my radar. I finished reading a lot of the Halo books that I had planned to, so I'm kind of in the process of picking out what next series to kind of add to the docket. I'll have to see if I track down some of the mech books that you guys have recommended in the past. That could be a fun thing.
They're all available on like drive-through fiction, things like that now too, so you can read them digitally.
Yeah.
But actually, going back to myself, speaking of the books, I finally caught up to the Dark Age novels. I got through all the original content, now I'm on to the it's funny, in the very last book, it was called Endgame. It's the end of the FedCom Civil War, and it actually says at the beginning, this is it, this is WizKids bought them, and they're going to be changing things, and it was pretty amazing that was actually in the book. So that was like the final chapter of the old guard, and now we moved in Dark Age, and so far it's terrible. So
is it like a forward note that says that WizKids bought it?
No, that was in the last novel, actually. In the one before that, it was like, this is the end of the FASA era, pretty much. It was saying in the novel as a forward. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought they had integrated it into the story.
No.
It kind of makes me think of wasn't it one time DC Comics was I forget what event they were switching, if it was before the New 52 or whatever, but they gave they were ending their old series, and they gave like Kevin Smith the option to like write some crazy Batman story or something like that. It was Batman or Superman.
I did do a Batman
and
story
he just
where he peed
went
himself,
crazy
so.
with it.
Where he peed himself.
But yeah, so this Dark Age novel, Pat, you'd love it. It's all about agro mechs and forestry mechs and construction mechs. And,
Oh, God.
yeah, it's hilarious. I was like, wow, this is everything that's bad with Dark Age. Hopefully it gets better. I'm probably only like 5 chapters in, so hopefully it actually goes somewhere. If it just keeps being like this, I have a long, terrible road ahead of me with these Dark Age novels. But I must persevere to read everything. So
All right, more power to you. I just remember that Agromex is what really put me over the top.
Yep. Pat, have you been up to anything?
Book-wise, no. Again,
Books, video games?
no. I just
Movies?
not even movies.
Did you finally finish Pacific Rim?
No, I have barely watched any TV. Just because when I wasn't away, I was on trips. You know what? I take that back. We did watch Robot Jocks.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah, in class we watched Robot Jocks, and we watched the pilot episode for Buck Rogers from the 80s.
Oh, I love that. That was my early childhood right there.
Yeah, so as far as mech concerned, Robot Jocks, we did watch that. But I haven't done any books because it was the last couple of weeks have been me just rereading How to Play Star Frontiers and
Trying to remember how to DM.
yeah, old TSR books, you know.
No mechs in Star Frontiers? Come on.
No, there's ships, but we didn't play that version of the Star Frontiers, so.
Yeah. You suck.
Brian,
oh, sorry, you're done?
yeah, I mean, literally, this week was just, if we want to talk about D&D and everything, we'd have hours upon hours of material.
Wrong podcast.
Yeah.
Brian, you got anything else?
Yeah, so for the Michigan GT, it was kind of fun. So we had, I think, the first United States firefight tournament from Mantic Games, which was a really fun time. We had 6 players, including 2 that came all the way from Wisconsin, and had a great time. There was in fact about, I think, 3 Spectras, which are the Asterian kind of battle mech that were fielded that day, and everyone had a great time. Got some good feedback on how to improve the tournament itself, as well as on the game. We were kind of finding Asterian shields. If you really are really good at resource management, can be incredibly effective and annoying for players. But and then so that was like Friday of the event, and then Saturday evening we had a Dead Zone tournament where we had 10 players show up. Almost had 11. We had to have one guy had to drop, unfortunately, but it's still a great turnout for the event. A lot of new people, which is something I'm always happy to see. It's great when the old guard, the people that you've been gaming with for years show up and everything like that. But it's also just as great when you can kind of match those numbers with over half new people. So that was a really great time. Just as many Spectras in that event too. So a lot of Asterians. But yeah, it was a really fun local event here in Michigan. Got to see Pat there. Mantic had a double booth, and got some more people into Dead Zone and Firefight and all sorts of other Mantic games. So I think overall it was a really fun time. And then trying to think, there's in other kind of weird local news is that I have in our local like Mantic community, we have a little Facebook page where we kind of have, people in Michigan, hey, here's all the gamers are located, and I had a guy just move in like another 15 minutes away from me. So another guy just literally down the same street as my buddy Scott. So it's like, hey, we got some more players now. We're gonna, he's looking for Firefight, he's looking for Dead Zone, Kings of War, and everything. I'm like, boy, are you in luck? So that's been a fun thing. So we're trying to coordinate now to get some more games in here before the holiday season kind of kicks off.
It's become a selling point for the houses around you.
Yeah, so
thriving firefight community.
Yeah, so if you're looking to get into any kind of Mantic games, or even just some pretty awesome sci-fi games, or even fantasy based, move to Livonia, Michigan. There's a few of us out here, and growing in number.
You're becoming an enclave.
Yeah, no kidding. But other than that, I've been kind of watching. I watched a lot of Red versus Blue on my lunch break. I'm like into season 14, I think. Wow.
I think I stopped at like season 5, maybe.
That's fair, because that was definitely an end point to the to one of the stories. It just finished a season that was kind of more of like vignettes, where it's like, let's just do a crazy thing that's not a consistent storyline like they had been for the last dozen seasons. So this one looks like it's back to story mode. It's been kind of neat to go back and watch it. My wife and I watch a lot of Rooster Teeth stuff. So that's been just kind of neat to revisit that show and pick it up beyond where I had left off years ago.
What are you watching on?
I watch it mostly on YouTube. They actually have the full seasons as like big blocks.
Oh, that's cool.
So I just kind of put it on and get some food and watch that. But we do have a Rooster Teeth subscription, and so Genlock is also on my radar. They keep showing ads for it every time I watch them. So I've been kind of meaning to it's right there. I have access to it now. Why don't I just check that out sometime?
Yeah, it doesn't. They're pretty. I think it's only like 6 episodes with 3 seasons. It's each, so it's not that long. So it's good to get into.
And then I also have on my radar the Gundam Witch of Mercury, which is episodes airing presently. I think they're on 3 or 4 episodes at the time of this recording. But the first one just dropped onto Crunchyroll's YouTube page, so I can watch it for free.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not available in Canada yet for some reason, so I might have to VPN it.
I know Gundam Info has it for somewhere. I don't know what region that's locked to. And I think Disney Plus might have been also streaming it for a different region. So I would check those 2 sources just in case it's on there somewhere.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna see, I don't know how many episodes they're actually gonna post to YouTube. It'd be awesome if they did all of them.
Yeah.
But it's a series that people are really taking to. I've almost heard universal positive things about this show. It is confirmed like a different Gundam universe. So we're kind of starting from scratch. And, if you've ever seen Revolutionary Girl Utena, apparently there's a lot of themes that carry over.
Well, I know Gundam Info just put up all the 08th MS team on there too. So
that's
YouTube
true.
channel.
Yeah, that just dropped the other day. So if you can't get access to the Gundam Witch of Mercury, go check out 08th MS team.
The
also
current best one.
But yeah, so I mean that's kind of been mostly what I've been kind of playing and whatnot, or watching and just paying attention to, I guess. And then I can't say I've been playing through a cyberpunk game called what was it, Anno Mutation or something like that.
Did you just make a word up?
I did. All words are made up, as we know. Let me see if I can get the spelling of it real quick. So it's ANNO, mutation M. It's like mutation EM. It's kind of a neat. It has a really unique visual style where it's 2D characters kind of moving. 2D characters that are like kind of classic adventure games where it's kind of a sideways view of it, but they're moving in a 3D plane, which gives it a really unique look. And it's a bit of a little hack and slash adventure style game. Really been enjoying it. It's been a fun. After I finished watching Cyberpunk Edge Runners, I initially picked up Cyberpunk again, and I just kind of had that moment where I don't know if I really want to do a whole playthrough of that game again, at least until I get a PS5.
Yeah,
and it looks a little better.
Well, plus you won't get any. We can't on the PS4. You can't get the expansions. So
yeah. So
I'm thinking about getting on Steam. So
I don't have a gaming PC.
Yeah, no.
And I don't like playing on PC as much anymore. I think mostly because
I don't like playing on a console much anymore.
I like having I've got nice TVs, and so I like being able to sit on a couch and have it on a big screen.
I have a nice chair and a lot of screens.
so that's
Rob can attest to my screen setup.
Yeah, but yeah, I understand the big screen for the games, but
yeah. Otherwise, I'm usually gaming on a laptop, and so it's just I'm sitting on my lap and it's craning in my neck and stuff, and I'm just I just like the bigger play space. But that said, I kind of put a pin in replaying Cyberpunk. Then I'm like, you know what? I am in a Cyberpunk mood, though. I'm going to check out this other game that had been on my radar for a while. So I've got that. There are some mechs in it. In fact, one of the boss fights I just had was some kind of giant crane thing where the boss had two crane arms of this giant shipping container that were trying to bash me into oblivion. So it's fun. It's different. It's an indie game that I've been following for a while. So it's been fun to play through that as something different. But that kind of puts a cap on what I've been up to.
Cool. Well, that filled some time. It was good. We'll be back with the MechBay Hanger, and hopefully you can fill some more time.
Now entering the MechBay Hanger.
Welcome to the MechBay Hanger. We're doing a round table discussion, as always, but this time it's going to be kind of generic. I just thought we should do a State of the Mech address. See how the world of Mecha and mechs are doing right now, and discuss where we think it is going and how well we think it's going right now. So pretty much things like Witch of Mercury and the big boom of Battletech currently got me thinking, well, it seems like it's a renaissance for mechs. What say you, boys?
I think kind of a renaissance. I think more so, not so much because of the boom of Battletech, but more so as we've done more and more Gen Cons together, you and me, Rob. Ryan could be part of this conversation if you just come work, but he doesn't want to do that. Is that we just every year are seeing more and more mech-related games that are not Battletech.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a somewhat renaissance in the fact that there is just not necessarily more mechs in the sense, there's just more variety of mech games. Does that make sense?
Yeah. For games, it seems like there's a lot more, because for a while there it was Battletech and Cav was a new one, and the Robotech always tried to put their feet in there, but it never really worked. Yeah,
they had that failed Kickstarter, but then, then it comes along Ignition Core and their cool little mechs and their nice little game. Then we had Red Line. Then the RPG that we played.
Yeah, there's Mecha Hack.
Mecha Hack.
Lancer. It was pretty success. That was a big Kickstarter success.
And then you got that chibi one that you were going to test out.
Yeah. haven't had a chance to yet just because I got busy with stuff, but I do have 2 mechs printed for that. I might glue these guys together first. They are built and designed for magnets. I just don't have a bunch of magnets lying around.
Yeah, it seems like for the game industry, there's definitely a big boom of mech-related things. And
video games, too. Like, there was a big SD Gundam game that came out. I know it's on the Switch. I forget the specific title for it. But then we also have that new one that they're kind of touting as like the Gundam Overwatch. I think it's Gundam Evolution, where it's more of kind of you pick a suit that you then fight in the battle with. Like I said, a la Overwatch. Overwatch and as well had a couple of mech characters, and the universe itself around that is, a big part of it is that there's this kind of robot sentient species that's trying to cohabitate with humans. So I think in the video game space, we also are seeing a lot of resurgence of some old titles. Front Mission, I think is it 1 and 2 are getting a remaster that's going to be released on the Switch, I think next year. Or actually, it might even be this month. Something's coming out in November on my wish list, and I think it might have been that. Though I haven't seen much fanfare over that. That might just be Nintendo, though. But I think we're also seeing, like, on the indie scene, a lot of people that had played mech games, like Front Missions and Mech Warriors and stuff. Those folks are going out there and they're crafting their own video games out of that. So
like Into the Breach or those kind of games.
Yeah, exactly.
Even the one you made. You made indie mech game yourself, so.
Yeah, I did, didn't I? My little Rebel Strider game, which is still up on itch.io, ITCH. And
there's a lot of stuff on there. I find like they have usually they have like charity bundles and stuff, but I did one it was like a mech charity bundle, and there was tons of role playing games and things like that. But it was also a lot of video games too. So like you say, a lot of independent creators are making their own fun little games, side scrollers or whatever,
Yeah, and I mean, I remember like on that platform in particular, I found an indie one that played it. Basically like a mech game that was kind of an arcade style, almost like an Afterburner type game. For those that remember that game franchise from the arcades and Nintendo era. And then there was another one, I think I remember, called Mech and Parcel, which was like a Zelda 2 style mech game. So yeah, just a lot of really creative folks out there. I think there's a lot of art being made in that respect, and a lot of creative different things in the video game space in particular. And I think we're just going to continue to see that surge. Hopefully it translates into more AAA titles, because we've had like Titanfall 2 and
MechWarrior,
the MechWarrior
5
games,
and the Battletech game.
Yeah. So there's been a handful of big names, but the AAA
unless
titles,
you're coming out of Japan, unless you're coming out of Japan,
there's not as many. But it's always been kind of a lower number thing. It's been pretty niche. As much fun as those games are, it only, I guess, draws a specific audience. So. Like in real life too, like, are we up to 3 giant Gundam statues now?
Yeah.
There's the RX-78, there was the Gundam Unicorn, there's the Chinese knockoff one.
You can always rely on Asia to do giant mechs, but it seems also even movies, like Pacific Rim was a while ago, but that kind of started the whole thing. And then in Ready Player One, they showed that you can make a Gundam movie.
So
yep.
That's been in the works for quite a while now.
Plus the cartoons.
I wonder if those movies Oh yeah, tons of cartoons. But I wonder if those movies are going to be too late. Do you think they're going to miss the wave, or do you think the wave's big enough that they're going to, by the time they're actually made?
I think the wave's big enough because even Catalyst delayed their Kickstarter knowing that the wave will still be there, I think.
Yeah. But that's only 6 months or something. Like, this movie is not even in production yet, so, or if it's in pre-production.
Even if it dies down a little bit, I think the movie will be the one that brings the wave back.
Could be, for North American audiences.
I don't foresee with what has happened, like with like the sci-fi genre, which has kind of been co-opted by comic books in a way. Like I think people are more open to kind of the big sci-fi stuff, especially mech related. I mean, Iron Man was like
it's not
one
a giant
of the
leap
biggest
between the
characters in the MCU, and that's been that whole series started because of him.
And you get the Mech Buster and things, or the Hulk Buster.
The Hulk Buster and stuff like that. The Armory Wars, I think, is that what it's called?
Armor Wars, yeah. It's going to be originally it was going to be a TV show. I think it's going to be a movie now. So with War Machine hunting down all the armor that got released into the world after Tony's death. So spoilers.
But yeah, so I feel like I'm kind of in agreement with Pat. I feel like it's got a bit of a longer tail. I feel like it's going to have some ups and downs, but it's more going to be kind of a gradual thing as opposed to like, and then we see, it's just a drought and there's no mechs out there at all. I think 3D printing has been a big boon for these other kind of smaller indie tabletop games to get out there.
And now if you have the idea, you don't have to worry about actually producing it. You could just 3D design it and let other people produce it. So
exactly,
you could do it as big as you want, or you don't have to worry about, like, GKR was the last big box of things, right?
Yeah.
Like, even they don't make those anymore because people can't afford to stock those giant boxes. So now with the Patreon, you could do giant mechs, but you print them yourself. So.
Exactly, and it opens the door to one of our previous topics was the miniature agnostic games, right? Where it's just a rule set that's what they're putting out, and they don't have to produce anything more apart from maybe mission books or something like that. Mm-hmm. But like a lot of the manufacturing, where a lot of cost goes in those kinds of things, like they can just hand that off to the gamers, and if you want them, you can make them, can use mechs from other games.
There's tons of games, especially mech games. That's they're like, hey, you just need 3 different size mechs. Go for it. What else? There's also a rise in cyberpunk. I wonder if that's connected in the same kind of way. It's for some reason people are connecting dystopian futures of giant mechs and cybernetics together.
I don't know.
Well, even like to get hard sci-fi, or I guess more hard science, we're starting to make those little pivots into things like more advanced artificial intelligence and like more sophisticated weaponry. One thing that I heard recently where it's kind of great is like in a drone war, one of the best weapons they have is just a radio jammer. And it can shoot drones out of the sky just by jamming their signal. And I think they have been hinting that they've been messing around with like lasers. And I mean,
definitely
like
rail guns and things like that.
Honest to goodness, lasers and rail guns and stuff to like this. It just superheats, a small target till it melts and explodes. Really, really weird sci-fi stuff.
Even augmented soldiers too. They like suits that they're putting on them to increase their lift capabilities, things like that. Like that's legit stuff that's happening. So
yeah.
It's only a small step till you get combat armor, and you make them bigger and bigger until you get mechs. It's just the way the world works.
Yeah.
True that.
So yeah, it's going to be becoming more a central part of our culture and cyberpunk was always kind of, always just that little bit beyond modern day. Like it's just, beyond the grasp, but at the same time, it hits on a lot of contemporary issues. Like, I mean, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but like Cyberpunk Edge Runners, so much of it is about, the healthcare system, and how messed up that is.
And also opioids, I think, is a major thing with that. Instead of drugs, it's cybernetics. So
yeah, and how that messes with your body. So
yeah,
and we're getting into as much as people maybe don't like the idea of being commercialized. Space travel is becoming something more people are having access to.
Even the idea of colonizing the moon or Mars, that's serious conversation about that too. It's not long before we get Xeon at that point.
yeah. Then we have colonies, and then we,
they rebel. That's what just happens.
Yep.
Well, first you have to crush their spirit and take all their resources and make demands of them that make no sense. I will say, though, I'm not a Xeon apologist. Those guys were fascists, and
yeah, but that's what happens, though. People get beat down, they turn to bad things, right? So
yes.
It happened in Expanse too. Mars went to and rebelled in Expanse also. So don't colonize Mars. They're just going to become the enemy. That's what we learned today. Is there anything else we can think of that's it's new and exciting that's happening with the mech world? A lot of books. I've noticed like independent books too. Like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say on that front, I don't have a lot of titles that come to mind, but the ability to self-publish or at least not have to hop onto a major publisher to get your work out there these days is, I think, lends itself to a lot of new, creative, and different takes on mechs coming to fruition. So
yeah, what's the author you had, Pat? The female author.
Oh, it's the one that
the Bad Dogs.
Yeah, it's the one that you just read out of order. I can't remember your name now.
The one I read out of order.
Yeah, didn't you read it out of order?
No, I read. I was reading I think it was a Jack Campbell series, the Dauntless one. That was all about like space combat and stuff. Treating it more like a submarine fight.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's called Gatewalker series is the one you're thinking of.
Yeah, Gatewalker.
Starts with Bad Dog, and then I think it's Strike Dog, and there's one more, Ghost Dog, I think. They're all dog.
Ghost Dog, yeah, Ghost Dog is the last one.
So,
Ashley Pollard. Ashley Pollard is her name.
There you go, you found it. Gary Widow wrote or co-wrote Rogue One. Also has a podcast right now where he has a mech audiobook called Gundog. So it's even that where audiobooks are becoming where somebody could just hire a voice actress in this case and a composer, and he made a audiobook out of his book series. So and it was originally produced for the audiobook, so and it's going to come out as a regular book later. So it's that kind of stuff too, where you could just go on YouTube or any podcast and create your own things. Yeah, being able to just create what you want and either put it on make even video games or books or role playing games, anything is. So maybe it's all these people who've liked mechs in the past and you never had an outlet, or you only had certain outlets, but now you can let your mind go wild and create. It seems like a revolution.
It's true.
Comics too.
Comics
much in the same way.
And once again, there's like a lot of the old school comics, like Ultraman and stuff, like old school properties coming back in comics. Mm-hmm. But they also have, like, the moment Marvel does Mech Strike and DC does DC Mech, like, it's in the zeitgeist that both major companies are doing a mech series right now, which is pretty crazy to think of that. So it's got to be somewhere. It's not just us. It's not just the fact that we're more attuned to it by doing this podcast. I think there is a resurgence in mech. Like it's coming to the fore even the normies get to experience giant stompy mechs.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that's also, like you said, we talked about, it's just there's a bigger variety, whereas before it was just Battletech.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's certain things, yeah, for sure.
I know Cav helped out during the downtime.
Well, they were there. Yeah, they were
during the
definitely
downtime for Battletech.
Yeah, they sat in the middle kind of there. But look at Dead Zone, right from the beginning. Striders were in the game. That was something that's in this sci-fi skirmish game with you're fighting maybe 5 or 6 guys aside. They wanted to put mechs in it. That was even back then. That's 10 years ago now. Even then, they felt the need. I think anybody who likes sci-fi, you want to go with those mechs. It seems to be just you want it. It's either that or fighter pilots, or fighter jets, or space jets.
Yeah. Some kind of mechanized combat.
Yeah. It seems to be this, the moment you get into this sci-fi, you always have the feeling that I need something bigger.
Yeah.
But vehicle combat, it's always fun. Mm. Yeah. So hopefully it doesn't end up being like the Western in the 50s where it just dies off and really doesn't come back at all, really. Even now, Westerns are barely around.
Well,
so hopefully it's a longer tail.
I would pose that back in the 90s that Westerns made a comeback for a little bit.
Not like it was before. Like before the superhero comic books in the 60s, Westerns were like everything. Like that's why kids played Lone Ranger and things.
Sure,
like that.
but
now they don't do that.
But again, I would pose in the 90s they brought that back a little bit movie wise, at least.
Yeah, I think there was more Western movies in that kind of 90s era. There was less TV shows, which I think is what you're kind of hinting at. Where
even so, they had Deadwood, things like that, but.
Yeah, but we didn't have.
You're right. There was
Rifleman and Gunsmoke and
there wasn't so many Maverick and all those.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I think it goes in waves, right? But is this a wave or a cyclical? I guess it's better than a wave. It's more cyclical where like right now, obviously superheroes are kind of cresting. I think that a lot of people have fatigue with superheroes right now. Like as good as stuff still is, I think a lot of like regular people are like, okay, I've had enough. Let's move on. And I could see that really falling off. Where hopefully maybe mechs could be the thing that takes over. Mecha, and I was going to mention it also. Look at Macross being able to be in the States now. That's a huge step forward.
That was a big one.
Yeah, that is huge.
Yeah. So the Japanese mechs coming to the States again, where it's been a long time since a big series like that, like with this Gundam series and Macross being able to come over. Hopefully that continues on. Anything else to say about this?
No, I think we covered a lot of it. I think we're all in agreement that we're not by any means at like the top point and everything's downhill from here. I think we're going to see a nice even growth to these different spaces. I think more folks are open to these kind of things these days than maybe any other time, just from cultural osmosis and whatnot. I think that lends itself to getting a lot of really great, new and unique things out of this genre.
Hopefully, it's the only way is up. Hopefully,
I'm an optimist. So.
Yeah, I am too. Like anything, it'll get popular and get ruined. That's the way things work.
Yeah.
So
I think
we're not there yet.
I think it'll be okay.
Now, the moment there's a twilight for mechs, that's when we know that the ship has sailed. There's a tweeny mech movie. Yep. We get some.
When the moon comes out, I turn into a giant robot.
Or it's just, one of those YA novels, but it's for mechs instead of, dystopian futures. So
I mean, that would actually be kind of sweet. we need the kids to get into giant robots.
Well, people like Twilight. People like Hunger Games. So I guess, and maybe those people eventually went on to good things instead of those things. So a gateway drug, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, we'll wrap this one up. We'll go to the ExFil and we'll finish this podcast off.
Let's ExFil out of here.
Well, I think that turned out to be a pretty good episode after all. We're in the ExFil now, but episode 53. It wasn't the stinker we assumed it would be, I don't think.
No, not at all.
No,
See, we could pull it off. Even the ones we have nothing to talk about, we can pull it off.
That's true.
You can always find us on Facebook. You look for Mobile Armor Radio. You can email us with ideas for new shows at mobilearmorradio.gmail.com. At gmail.com. Just say .gmail.com. Yeah. Oh, we're on Twitter. Look for us there. But, yeah. Other than that, until next time, I've been Rob.
I've been Brian.
And I've been Chopper.
We'll see you in December. When December ends. Quoting.
When December ends. Bye.
Copyright strike.
Strike. Goodbye.
Isn't he awake by now?
Yeah, he woke up in September. You gotta let him know.
This has been Mobile Armor Radio. Join our Facebook group by searching for Mobile Armor Radio. Find us on Twitter at @MArmorRadio. Find us on iTunes and visit our website, mobilearmorradio.podbean.com. Join us on the first of every month for more mecha discussion.